Do you believe that you can heal yourself? Too often, we give our power away to something outside of ourselves, and rarely, if ever, trust and tap into our innate healing power and intuition. Everyone has this capability to heal in ways we never thought possible. It's your sovereign right to claim and have true health and lasting wellness. Now, here is the host of the Dr. Dolores Show, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in our amazing universe, and welcome to another episode of the Dr. Dolores Show on Inspired Choices Network. And we're here to talk today about boundaries. This is something that I believe that we need to visit on a pretty regular basis because sometimes we just forget. We forget that, we are needing to take care of ourselves and to set a perimeter around ourselves of what we are going to allow in our life and not. And it's not just a physical thing; it's energetically as well too, because everything is energy. It could be your thoughts, your beliefs, other people's stuff coming into your space, especially if you're an empath, intuitive, and highly sensitive person. Those are the people that I really want to um, make this clear to, because we are in control, believe it or not. Yes, you do have a choice. What happens often is that things are happening on an automatic or an unconscious level sometimes, and we aren't even aware of it. It's like the rendition of, you see an iceberg and you see the tip of it, and that's what you could see, the physicality of everything. Yet below the surface is everything that you can't see, like your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions, whether or not you've dealt with them, or if you have, partially, if you've dealt with them, because it's those things are still running the show, in addition to your connectedness to yourself, your body, your inner wisdom. When you are not able to discern where those things are, sometimes you think you're going batshit crazy because it's such an overwhelming sensation for you, and that you feel like you have no control. But I'm here to share with you, you do have control, because everything you do in life is a choice. And I know some people believe, no, they're the victim to this, and it's happening to me. No, I'm going to invite you to look at it from a different stance. You're creating it. And I know this is going to be a hard stretch for some people, and sometimes it's the unconscious patterning that's within ourselves that's the driving force. So when we look at the tip of the iceberg, we see this physicality and what is there and what we could witness, but what's below the surface are the less visible things. And since they're below the surface, they're like unconscious. They're not, we don't have an awareness of it. So as we melt the tip of the iceberg, guess what happens? More of the iceberg comes above the surface line, because you're melting it and it's rising up. So when that happens, those unconscious drives are becoming conscious, okay, because they're above the water line of that iceberg. So you're able to do something with it consciously, okay? So I know this is a big stretch for people, but I want to talk a little bit more about boundaries in general. And I'm just going to pull up some notes here, because I think it's important to know these things. And boundaries could be physical, they could be as rudimentary as a fence around a property, but we're going to address more of what the spiritual boundaries are, like spiritual, emotional, mental, those things that are, you know, that are there, and they run the show, they run our show. And, I think it's time that we, kind of get a grip a little bit and you really step into our power and make those right choices for ourselves so that we can move beyond surviving to thriving. So when we look at boundaries, the ones that are tangible that we could feel are like physical boundaries, like we talk about a fence around a property. And sometimes it's boundaries about saying no. Maybe it's about giving ourselves permission to say no, because many of us could be have a tendency to be yes people and people pleasers, and feel that, oh, if I don't say yes, I'm going to miss an opportunity, the fear of missing out, the FOMO that people talk about. um, and sometimes we overload our plate, and what happens with that, we're just feeling tired, and then we start getting resentful because we say yes to things that we really wanted to say no to, because we said yes because we were either feeling guilty, um, or we are afraid we're going to be missing out, or maybe we were feeling as if we wanted to please everybody and to make everything nice on the outside at the expense of our well-being and our respect to ourselves and value. It's really about learning how to respect yourself and love yourself enough to say no and mean it. It doesn't mean that you just give carte blanche to things and just allow everything to go awry. And what I mean by that is it's about reacting to situations instead of effectively responding. I believe that we have been programmed in our society and also through our family lineage to, make nice and, put other people before ourselves, and keep the peace. That's another one that comes up at all costs at the expense of what you feel is right. It's like a lot of sacrifice and a lot of I'm going to say martyrism. Recovering Catholic here, it's just like I joke to people. I remember one time I said to my father, he was going on and on about something. I looked at him, Joe, get off the cross. We need the wood. So, and he got it. But the thing is like a lot of times we are on automatic thinking that we need to be doing something in order to feel good about ourselves and please other people. And I'm just going to drive this back home. If you notice that, that's all looking at external validation versus coming within and knowing whatever you decide is in alignment with who you are and is your right next step. I love, talking about boundaries because I'm going to share a story that really drove this home to me. About a couple of years ago, I was getting ready to do a talk at a local event, and we were talking about boundaries. And it just so happened that morning I had to take one of my cats to the vet. And you know what it's like if you have cats and trying to herd them and put them in a carrier to do that. Well, Miss Gracie wasn't going to have anything to do with that. In fact, she was very clear about the boundaries she was setting with me, but I had my own agenda and I was going to supersede and bypass that. How many times in our life do we do that? Think about that. So I was carrying on, and I was a woman on a mission, and I was going to hoist that cat up and round her up and put her in the carrier. Well, she proceeded to go crazy. She sliced open my hand and she peed all over me. This animal was giving me a clear boundary, but I chose not to listen. That was a game changer for me, because how often in life do we project what we feel is right for somebody else, and without even giving a second iota of thought how that other person may feel about it? Something to ponder. I mean, it was a big takeaway for me. And yes, she didn't get to go to the vet that day. We canceled and had to get the vet come to the house. Anyway, the point I'm making is that boundaries aren't just a one-sided thing, they're two-sided. Meaning that yes, we set boundaries, yet sometimes when we impose our boundaries onto others and, like projecting and forcing them, sometimes there's fallout with that. And you have to be aware of the signs and what you're, reading into the situation or reading of the situation. Because there's always, I want to say two sides to the coin or two sides to the story, or there's three sides. There's their story, your story, and the real deal. Anyway, that was a sidebar to make you laugh. But, circling back to boundaries, it's about putting yourself first and honoring who you are and what you would like to do for you. So I see this a lot because I'm in healthcare, and I feel that people who are in the healthcare industry really have they're very lucent and tangible and interwebbed boundaries, because a lot of us are empaths, intuitives, and highly sensitive people. We don't know where we end and somebody else begins, and that can pose a problem. I also witnessed this too. We lived through the pandemic and COVID, where it was almost, they were asking people to stay to, take extra shifts. And it was clearly evident that a lot of the staff was just overworked, they're understaffed, and the institution wanted more out of them. And they would guilt them into saying yes to stay for an extra shift when they didn't want to. So I had to pull a couple of these young ladies. Um, and I said to them, I said, if you don't want to stay, it's okay to say no without feeling guilty, or like you're obligated to. Because I said, when you start taking that away from yourself, you give your power away to something else. Number one, they're going to expect you to do it all the time. Number two, you're building resentment within yourself, and that's not good for your overall health and well-being. But they used to say too, well, I feel guilty and I feel like I need to stay. And I said to them, I said, okay, maybe we need to look a little deeper as to why you feel guilty when you say no, because obviously there's something more going on than you're willing to look at this time. And so we did a little role play one time. We were in the locker room, and there was about four of them. And I went around, I said, so Sally, can you stay tonight? She's over there. No, I can't. Very good. And then Sally said to Susie, can you stay today? And she said, oh no, I can't. I have other commitments. And then they turned it around on me, and I said, oh no, I am not staying. So it was good to do a role play with them, because also told them too, if you're in a situation where you're setting a boundary and then you're getting pushback from whatever, you could just say no and then keep walking. You don't have to interact. It's probably better for you not to, because you are standing in your power by making a statement, and that's a boundary. And when you backpedal and have an interaction with these people because, oh, it's the polite thing to do, hell no. Just set a boundary and move forward. It's okay to do that. When we're able to start stepping into our power and embracing who we are and loving ourselves enough to set boundaries, be it physical, energetic, emotional, it's about what you're allowing to come into your space and what you're not. How often do we give our power away to something outside of ourselves, particularly when it has to do with boundaries? So we're getting ready to go on our first break. And when I come back, I'd like to talk more about empaths, intuitives, and highly sensitive people, and how setting boundaries is so essential for them and a necessity, and to go into more detail about that. So you're listening to the Dr. Dolores Show. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, and you're listening to the Dr. Dolores Show on Inspired Choices Network. Stay tuned and see you on the other side.
Do you trust your instincts? Many of us don't. Yet this is the key to connecting to your innate healer within and your intuition. Tune in to the Dr. Dolores Show with nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, to receive insights and tools to realign with your inner wisdom for lasting health and true wellness. Listen for the Dr. Dolores Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Ready to break free from complacency? Welcome to I'm Awake, Now What? Your monthly invitation to embrace conscious living. If you've been feeling lost or stagnant, this is your chance to awaken your purpose. Join our transformative conscious wake-up office hours every month for guidance and self-discovery. Experience the power of clarity and focus as you navigate towards holistic healing and empowerment. Don't just survive, thrive. Sign up now and unlock a wealth of benefits, including enhanced well-being, stress reduction, emotional healing, and connection. It's time to ignite the flames of purpose within and start your journey to a fulfilling life.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Dr. Dolores Show with Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to Dolores at drdoloresfazzino.com. Now, back to the program.
Well, welcome back, everybody. You're listening to the Dr. Dolores Show on Inspired Choices Network. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. And we're talking about boundaries today. Boundaries and self-care thrive again. And before the break, we were talking about just boundaries in general. And I shared some stories from my personal vault about boundaries and what they are and what they are not and what they can be. And, we're going to go into a little more detail about those of us who are empaths, intuitives, and highly sensitive people, where we have a tendency to have really flailing boundaries, meaning that they're not really tough and concrete, but more fluid. And it's really about us being able to discern where we end and where something else begins. And, I know for many of us who are empaths, intuitives, and highly sensitive people, we've been rolling around with this our entire lives. And the good news is that many of us are have pretty much mastered that whole concept of where we begin and where something else ends as we age. We've kind of been through the experiences of trial and error or trial by fire, what's going to work and what's not. And I'm hoping that, what I share with people is going to allow them to know that this is what's happening. There's been other people before you who've been empaths, intuitives, and highly sensitive people who've kind of figured it out a little bit. And, I'm going to give you my version of what works for me. And I invite you to explore and possibly take on some of these things and experiment with them to assist you in learning how to be more complete and whole within yourself and discerning as far as what is your stuff and what is somebody else's. So let's just look at the overall picture of like an empath, intuitive, and highly sensitive person. When you're that type of being, you feel things at a very deep level, deeper than the average person. In fact, you are very fluid in energy and reading energy, even though you may not be aware of it. And it's kind of unwieldy, wild within you before you kind of get a grasp and a concept as to what this is all about. Sometimes it's maddening because you might step into the room, and if you're an energetic being, like an empath, intuitive, and highly sensitive person, you are going to feel everything in the room. It's like feeling 50 shades of emotion. You'll walk in a room and all of a sudden you might feel sad, you might feel angry, you might feel loving, you might feel all these emotions are coming through you, and sometimes you think that there's something wrong with you, and but in essence there's nothing wrong with you. You're just taking on this energy and it's getting trapped in your body instead of coming in through you and down and out your feet and into the ground. That's one thing. So one of my easiest things that I tell people that I work with and that I've used in my life, we are sovereign beings, okay? So nothing cannot come into our energy field unless we allow that, okay? Now, the little twist here is that much of what we run on automatically, we have allowed on an unconscious level. So it's kind of maddening and crazy making at the same time. Yet, one of the simplest things that you can do is that if you are in a situation where you're just overwhelmed with what is happening with the emotions, I invite you to say the following thing, because by the laws of the universe, nothing can come into your space unless you allow that. As a sovereign being, nothing could come and interfere with your space unless you allow that. But it's the unconscious things that we aren't aware of that create that. So what you could say is, by the laws of the universe, if this is not my stuff, it needs to remove itself immediately from my energy field. And usually by saying that, you're going to feel a shift within yourself because you're sensitive enough to experience that, and you're going to feel differently. And it's like you're going to feel as if whatever was there interfering with you is at bay, and you're going to really feel a difference with that. So I invite you to try that. So by the laws of the universe, if this is not my stuff, it needs to remove itself immediately from my energy field. And for those of us who are more of, we still like to be spiritual and play with, religious stuff. My favorite thing is, in the name of Lord Jesus Christ, if this is not my shit, get out of my space right now. And so this is what I say. And this usually helps immediately. Um, so play with that. If you're a sensitive person, this is going to be a game changer for you, because you're going to realize that, oh my God, I'm not going batshit crazy. And okay, now I have a sense of control and I could feel where those boundaries and energy things are. Another thing that happens for a lot of people who are empaths, intuitives, and highly sensitive people is that they feel like they're triggered quite a bit. And if you are being triggered, I'm going to invite you to um, not be reactive, but be mindful and aware that you're being triggered, and to take a step deeper and take a deep breath within yourself and feel what's going on within you. It's like it's going to percolate a lot of emotion and feeling coming up. And I invite you to take pen and paper and write down what's coming up. Like, I'm feeling betrayed, I'm feeling abandoned, I'm feeling persecuted, whatever that is. Please, it's wanting to come up from unconsciousness to consciousness, and when it comes into consciousness, we could do something. And by writing that, you're able to write it out, get it out of your system, and then you could do some type of burning ritual and burn the thing down. But you're going to feel so much lighter by doing that, because you're chipping away at the under part of the iceberg that we were talking about earlier in the last segment, because you're chipping away at the unconscious stuff that is still driving you and is triggering you. What you may find is, after you do this exercise, you're going to find that um, you're more present in your body, because you've gotten rid of some of that energetic debris that's been weighing you down. Okay. You're going to become lighter. You may even become more creative and maybe more connected to you, because that ball and chain that's around your ankles is no longer there, and you're going to be floating up to the surface. So more of your true essence is going to come through. So I can't believe we're getting ready to go on our next break. And when we come back, I'm going to guide you through a guided meditation because I love doing this in my shows because it is an experiential piece that allows us to put into play what we've talked about in the first two episodes and allows you to go deeper and have a personal experience with that. So stay tuned for that when we come back. And you're listening to the Dr. Dolores Show on Inspired Choices Network. And see you in the next segment.
Do you trust your instincts? Many of us don't. Yet this is the key to connecting to your innate healer within and your intuition. Tune in to the Dr. Dolores Show with nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, to receive insights and tools to realign with your inner wisdom for lasting health and true wellness. Listen for the Dr. Dolores Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Ready to break free from complacency? Welcome to I'm Awake, Now What? Your monthly invitation to embrace conscious living. If you've been feeling lost or stagnant, this is your chance to awaken your purpose. Join our transformative conscious wake-up office hours every month for guidance and self-discovery. Experience the power of clarity and focus as you navigate towards holistic healing and empowerment. Don't just survive, thrive. Sign up now and unlock a wealth of benefits, including enhanced well-being, stress reduction, emotional healing, and connection. It's time to ignite the flames of purpose within and start your journey to a fulfilling life.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Dr. Dolores Show with Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to Dolores at drdoloresfazzino.com. Now, back to the program.
Well, welcome back, everybody. You're listening to the Dr. Dolores Show on Inspired Choices Network. And I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. And I'm going to do a little live commercial because I'm very excited to share with you a program that we're going to be relaunching in November of 2024. And it's called I'm Awake, Now What? And what this is a community and a membership subscription that's going to be addressed to people who are waking up. You know, maybe you've been a type of person who life has been working well for you up until a recent point, and the rug feels like it just got pulled out from underneath you and nothing seems to be working. I've got a news flash for you. You're going through a spiritual awakening, and this is a support community for people who are going through a spiritual awakening and are realizing that what is on the outside is no longer working, and they are feeling the need to come within, but they have no roadmap or navigational system to allow them to figure out what is their next steps. My co-partner and myself, Cozy Stankaitis, both are empaths, intuitives, and highly sensitive people and gone through our spiritual awakening. And we struggled and we decided we would come together to provide resources, tools, community, and support for those of us and those of you who are awakening on your journey. So look out for that. And you could go to my website, drdoloresfazzino.com, and there will be a little segment there in the header that says, I'm awake now what? I invite you to go there and explore. So love to support you in that way. And so, as we were talking in our last two segments, we talked a lot about boundaries and the importance of setting them, especially if you're an empath, intuitive, and highly sensitive person, because this is going to allow you to step into your power more so and to discern where you end and something else begins. So, as I promised, we're going to step into this guided meditation, and it's a guided meditation for healthy boundaries. So, just know that we're going to explore what a healthy boundary is. And they're like invisible fences to protect your energy, emotions, and time. By setting and maintaining healthy boundaries, you create a safe and nurturing space for yourself. Essential. So I invite you to find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. And you could either sit or lie down in a comfortable position. And when you're ready, just close your eyes and just take a few deep breaths. When we take deep breaths, we actually come into our physical body and we relax. There's really nothing else to do. So begin by focusing on your breath and notice the sensation of the air entering and leaving your nostrils. Imagine breath extending deep into your body, anchoring you into the present moment. And just imagine yourself surrounded by a warm golden light. This light represents your personal boundary. Pay attention. Does it feel like it's close to your body? Or is it widened away from your body? You may be able to see it. You might be able to just feel it, or maybe neither, but just know that it's there. And whatever you sense is the right answer without judging or criticizing it. Now, imagine it expanding outward, creating a protective shield or cocoon around you. Or maybe you could even visualize a pod. Bring your attention to your heart center next. Feel the warmth and peace radiating from within. This is your source of strength and inner knowing. Now, in your mind, just visualize yourself interacting with different people or situations. And as you do so, imagine your golden boundary remaining firm and intact. If someone or something tries to penetrate your boundary, gently but assertively push it back. If you notice any feelings of guilt or shame for setting boundaries, just acknowledge these emotions without judgment. And remind yourself that it's okay to prioritize your own needs and well-being. And repeat the following affirmations to reinforce your commitment to healthy boundaries. You could either say them out loud or you could say them with me. I am worthy of respect and consideration. I am worthy of respect and consideration. I have the right to say no. I have the right to say no. I am capable of setting and maintaining healthy boundaries. I am capable of setting and maintaining healthy boundaries. I choose to prioritize my own well-being. I choose to prioritize my own well-being. Take a few moments to allow the energy of this meditation to integrate into your being. Feel the strength and clarity that comes from having healthy boundaries. When you're ready, gently open your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Notice how you feel in your body and mind. Remember, this meditation is a tool to help you cultivate healthy boundaries. I invite you to practice regularly, and over time, you'll develop a stronger sense of self and greater ability to protect your energy. So, how does that feel coming back? I always find that after we do a meditation, there's this calmness, this quiet, this peacefulness, and this inner presence and experience of being in the present moment right here, right now. When we're able to set healthy boundaries, we are giving ourselves the love, respect, value, and appreciation that we so deserve and is our sovereign right. We are reclaiming our sovereign rights. So I invite you to continue to move forward with that. And when things start getting a bit challenging or a little wonky, if you want to call it, just remember, focus on your breath. Our natural tendency is like when we go into stress mode, we pop out of what we're feeling right now into our head, and we're like these little hamsters and going trying to figure things out and playing whack-a-mole at the fair. We're in react when we're in our heads. When you're in your body, you can make a different choice. You're more aware, you're more mindful. This is where your power comes into play. I just want to share a story with you. I remember earlier this year, I had to look at some boundary issues within my career because I still work in hospitals as an independent contractor, and a contract was coming up for renewal. Yet I was feeling very uncertain, but also feeling very disrespected, not valued, and not appreciated. And I finally had to sit down with that. And I realized that I was not in alignment with myself because I don't allow things in my personal life to, I don't allow disrespect, no appreciation or not being valued in my personal life, but I was allowing it in my professional life. And I realized, oh, hell no, because I was out of integrity with who I was because of an external thing. And I made the decision that I left that contract, but there was 3 other people involved with that contract. And when I made a statement to my co-partners with that, it almost gave them permission to do the same because they were feeling the same thing. Yet I spoke what was there and then they realized what it was. And then so what I'm saying is that when you set boundaries and you are leading by example, it has a ripple effect and it affects everybody. And it also allows people who were on the fence about something, it almost gives them permission to be responsible and take ownership themselves as well. So know that as we heal ourselves or, set boundaries and step into our power, we are leading by example and also allowing others and giving others permission to do the same as well. So remember, it is everything in life that occurs. Some of these things are like roller coaster rides, and you're thinking to yourself that, oh my God, this is happening. And it's just like, how did this happen? Yet when you get to the other side of what that situation is, this is where the gold nuggets are. When you look back and you realize, oh my God, this happened for a specific reason. And now look where I'm at. So when we're going through things, sometimes it's not for the weak of heart. And when you're able to gain the wisdom and look at the bigger picture and be in non-react mode, this is where you're able to really step into your power and create that boundary and that certainty and that self-love that is so essential for each of us, which is our sovereign right. These are things that are what we are, but yet over our incarnations, we have given that power away to something outside of this. And it's really time to have the renaissance and come back to this and step into your power. So setting boundaries is a power, and it's also about loving yourself enough to not put yourself into situations that you know that where your power is being sucked out of you. Okay. And of course, when we are being challenged, like when you set a boundary and maybe you're being challenged, I'm going to invite you to look at it this way. It's obviously working because you're setting a boundary and people aren't going to like that and they're going to push back. So just stand in your power. You don't have to respond, because sometimes responding after you set a boundary is like you're waffling and they look for the opportunity for you to get sucked back in. Just say no and no thank you. And there's ways of saying it. When you speak from your heart, you'll always say the right thing. And then state your boundary and then just continue to walk forward and leave that situation, especially if they're trying to manipulate and control and trying to twist things around. That's self-care. Walking away from that is self-care. Now, sometimes when you choose to participate in that banter, that may not be self-care. So that may be something you want to think about as well. Okay, you set a boundary, you said no. You know, everybody else has their own agenda. Remember that first story I shared with you about my cat? My cat had another agenda. She was not going to the vet, but I was forcing that on her. So the thing is, just be aware of that there's many tangents to boundaries. And we're going to get ready to go on our last break. And when we come back, we're going to wrap it all up and we'll talk about what we're going to talk about next week. So, you're listening to the Dr. Dolores Show. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, and you're listening to the Dr. Dolores Show on Inspired Choices Network. See you when we come back.
Do you trust your instincts? Many of us don't. Yet this is the key to connecting to your innate healer within and your intuition. Tune in to the Dr. Dolores Show with nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, to receive insights and tools to realign with your inner wisdom for lasting health and true wellness. Listen for the Dr. Dolores Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Ready to break free from complacency? Welcome to I'm Awake, Now What? Your monthly invitation to embrace conscious living. If you've been feeling lost or stagnant, this is your chance to awaken your purpose. Join our transformative conscious wake-up office hours every month for guidance and self-discovery. Experience the power of clarity and focus as you navigate towards holistic healing and empowerment. Don't just survive, thrive. Sign up now and unlock a wealth of benefits, including enhanced well-being, stress reduction, emotional healing, and connection. It's time to ignite the flames of purpose within and start your journey to a fulfilling life.
This is the Dr. Dolores Show with Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to Dolores at drdoloresfazzino.com. Now, back to the program.
Well, welcome back, everybody. It's Dr. Dolores Fazzino here on Inspired Choices Network, and we're talking about boundaries today and the importance of boundaries and self-care so you could thrive. And, over the last several segments, we talked about what boundaries are and what boundaries are not. We talked about, I shared some stories about boundaries and how people, set them and not set them. And we also did a meditation on how to experience what it's like to have boundaries in your world. And I invite you to go back and explore that meditation at your leisure. So, it's boundaries are important because it is the foundational piece of, and I want to say it's the doorway where we allow things in or not. Okay. Whether or not it's things that we consciously choose or unconsciously are within us that are creating the lack of boundaries or really resistant boundaries. There's two sides to the coin there. When you're able to discern what is yours and what's not yours, this is where you really begin to step into your power. So I even shared a little mantra that people could say, especially if you're an empath, intuitive, and highly sensitive person, to remember that you're a sovereign being and you could just declare to the universe, by the laws of the universe, if this is not my stuff, it's not allowed to come into my energy field. And usually you'll feel a shift instantaneously. I really invite people to use that. It's a simple thing and could do this, especially when you're feeling overwhelmed. But I also want to add the other thing too. We need to talk a little bit about self-compassion in all of this as well, because I find that we have a tendency to be really hard and say some not so nice stuff to us, especially when things are happening. And when you're able to focus on self-compassion, it's almost like um, it's a higher vibrating frequency self-compassion, and anything that's judgy or criticism wise kind of melts away. So it's not about learning what self-compassion is, which can be helpful. It's about just saying the word, and it's going to allow you to come more into your beingness, and it's going to help you with your boundaries as well. Okay, especially if you are on the fence, should I say yes or should I say no? Just say self-compassion, self-compassion. and repeat that for a little while and see if that helps you, because that'll assist you into making a more conscious decision as to what you want to participate in and what you don't. One of the important things that I think people need to realize is that not everything and every opportunity is for you. A lot of people have this idea of fear of missing out, what they call FOMO, and or feel like, oh, I'm not going to have this opportunity again. If it doesn't feel right, then don't do it. If it feels like a hell yes, absolutely. Know that when you're trusting the information that you're getting within yourself, you will not make a wrong decision. It's when you hear that information and you choose to ignore it, sometimes that's where things go waffly. So we want to make sure that you're listening to what is coming through for you that's in alignment with you so you can move forward. So if there's things, if you're a yes person or a people pleaser and stuff like that, boundaries could be a new thing for you. And I invite you to take baby steps. Have self-compassion. We talked about that. And practice. It's not a one and done. It's a skill that's going to take some time. You take baby steps and just know that as you move forward, you're gaining more and more wisdom and more educations as we claim, as we state, and you're going to be very surprised at how, you know, easy this is going to become over time. Okay. It's just going to be part of who the new you are, or the new renaissance return to self, the stuff that's always been there, but we needed to uncover it a little bit for you to realize it was there. Make sense? Okay, cool. So just remember, boundaries are a form of self-care that empowers you to take control of your life and prioritize your well-being. And what I want to leave you with is that boundaries are not walls, they are bridges. Okay. They help us connect with others in a way that is respectful, authentic, and fulfilling. Remember, your well being is paramount. When you set boundaries with love, kindness, and firmness, you'll watch your life transform. So, next week on the Dr. Dolores Show, I'm very excited that I have a guest, Dr. Andrew Hahn. He is a PsyD and he is an author and he is a teacher and a healer. And he has the topic of our next show is 1 hour healing with guest Andrew Hahn, PSD. And, I just want to read a little bit about that. Andrew Hahn, he's been studying, and he actually has a groundbreaking book called The 1 Hour Miracle. And it is really possible to transform your life struggles from healing chronic pain to emotional roadblocks in just 60 minutes. Well, let's find out next week. Dr. Hahn is going to unveil his 5-step life-centered therapy, LCT method, a powerful blend of mindfulness and body-centered therapy that has helped thousands achieve lasting change. So I'm very excited to have our guests next week. So join us live next week if you choose. And we are in a lot of interesting changes right now, and you're doing a good job. I just want you to know that, being alive now is not for sissies. Okay. There's a lot of things out there. And when we are able to set boundaries and have discernment in our life, this is adding to our inner power, our confidence, and also allowing us to step into that sovereign place where we are supposed to be, and to live with all the sovereign rights that were promised to us in another time and place, in another dimension. So, you've been listening to the Dr. Dolores Show. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. And just remember to be kind to yourself. You are worth it. See you next week. Bye now.
Thank you for listening to the Dr. Dolores Show. Dr. Dolores returns Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Until then, remember to be kind to yourself and create your best life. You are worth it.